Well, the warring parties in South Sudan were supposed to begin direct talks today in Ethiopia, but they've been stalled. A spokesperson for Ethiopia's foreign ministry says they're still working on an agenda for the talks. Meanwhile, the fighting between the government troops and rebels continues. The violence has left more than 1,000 people dead and driven 200,000 people from their homes. Well, among those caught in the violence is a group of Calgary-trained doctors. They left a similar situation in South Sudan decades ago, but returned to help build the country's medical system. Now they're running for their lives. CBC's Megan Grant has the story.
An old story in a new country. South Sudan is once again facing terrifying violence, injuries, death, and tens of thousands of refugees.
The situation here in South Sudan is getting worse every day.
It was 30 years ago, during a decades-long civil war. Many of the country's children lived in refugee camps. Bior was one of 600 selected to study abroad. They lived in Cuba, some becoming doctors. But when the system began to deteriorate in the communist country, they would again have to find refuge. This time it would be in Canada. Here, though, their medical credentials were not recognized, and many ended up in the meatpacking industry. A few years later, Samaritan's Purse and the University of Calgary stepped in, retraining 13 doctors. Soon, they were able to pack up and head home to fulfill the mission they started as children. In southern Sudan, they were hailed as heroes.
They literally had to rebuild the buildings and rebuild the whole system. And when they first went back there, we sent 13 of them back there. There were about 15 other doctors in the entire country for a country of 9 million people. So we basically doubled the number of physicians in that country when we sent them back there.
Back in the same city he fled as a child, Bior is once again running for his life.
This situation is very bad. Now innocent people, they are dying, children are drowning.
Now Samaritan's Purse has stepped in again to help some of the doctors to a safe house in a neighboring city.
When we learned that they'd had to flee the hospitals and some of them were in danger of being killed, we did everything we could to get them out of there.
They've already spent decades overseas. Now that they're back to help the people of South Sudan, the doctors say this time they don't want to leave.
I want to be here because my people, they need me.
Megan Grant, CBC News, Calgary.